industrial designer and co-founder of MERPHI. A couple of days ago, one of my friends asked me how to draw an airplane in perspectives, something similar to this, with some complex forms and shapes. But I was thinking, what if I just create a video and then share it with others, then everybody can benefit from that. And the method that I want to teach this is a very, very simple method. So basically, you simplify every object into geometrical shapes, and by that you can create literally any shapes that you want. So yeah, stay with me and share your thoughts in the comments, and I definitely can draw more stuff if you just ask me. So basically what we have here is inherently a geometrical shape. So the method that I want to draw this airplane with now is to just to kind of analyze it into geometrical shapes, and then try to create the forms based on that geometrical shape. And that's usually the best way to create this kind of complex forms. If I want to design this or kind of draw this, actually, because my way of drawing is as you know, industrial design drawing, it means that I don't really want to have something very beautiful and stylish. I just want to have something that can communicate what the idea is with somebody else. And if I want to start with drawing this, the first thing that I do is to specify some geometrical axes. And one of them for me is this axis, the second could be this axis, and the third could be this axis. And by that, I can just, that's how I started, and then I can kind of convert these axes into forms, and geometrical forms and cubes, as you can see now. So I'll put it here. Okay, yeah, I choose an angle which is okay for me. So basically I start with having a line here, which is my first axis. The good point of having these lines, these geometrical lines, is that they actually kind of shows you how you can fit your object inside the frame, because a lot of time happens that your object just go off the frame. The second thing is to draw the line perpendicular to this one. But the question is, where does this line stands? You can easily get the proportion of, for example, if this is the middle of this line, then you can say, okay, here's the proportion. If I want to compare it with here, here's half of here. So basically it's like 1 to 1.5. And if I specify this one as the center of this line, maybe a bit more back, then I can have this line with some margins from the other one. And then I randomly just draw a line. Don't be very, very, calculative about these lines, because these are just constructive lines. But as you can see, for example, this line here, this part is shorter than this part, which makes sense because this part is in perspectives. So basically, I started with this, and then I just continue with my third construction line, which I was thinking can be this one. Yeah, and then I'll try to go to give some shapes to our airplane. So basically what I want to do first is to draw a line here, which is kind of vertical, and want to just follow the same axis line that we have here until the end, which is kind of here. So here what I'm doing is basically, I just try to create a plane here, and like a flat plane, a 2D plane. What I want to do here after that is to create some sort of another plane in the front. And by plane, this is just a square. And then try to follow this end to that end. But what you see here is that this part is a bit kind of circular, but this part is a bit, let's say, a very, very narrow rectangle. So then try to just connect this kind of dot to this dot in the end, and connect this dot to this dot. again, these lines are not so important for now, but later they helps us a lot in the development. So basically, if we want to say that this was our first line, so if we draw a line like this, then it also tells us that this is kind of the middle of this cube. So we add another square here, and then I want to design this the wings. As you can see, the front part is a bit flat, but the back part is a bit angled, and the kind of the proportion is something like, yeah, the same amount that we have from this top until end of here is the same length for the wings. So something like this, for example. So this is the end of our wings, kind of. It should be a bit longer because that one is in perspectives, right? So we draw this one with an angle. We just continue it to the other side, and this side for now can be just a straight line. Yeah, it's working. The next thing that I want to go to after, I just make this one a bit more clear. Yeah, the next thing can be actually to just develop the back part a little bit. As you can see here, we have the same story. So the front part of the wings is a bit flat, the back part is a bit angled, and then we have something that is like perpendicular to this wing and the back flap from right, and then this, yeah, has such a form, but we don't want to, in this stage, we don't really want to replicate the exact same form. And what is important here, I would say the profile of the body. As I told you, the body from here on the front part starts with a circle and then goes to a rectangle with like a rounded edges. For that, many people already knows how to design a triangle in perspective, but if I want to be more clear, when you have a rectangle in perspectives, square in perspectives, then you can actually draw these diagonal lines, and they specify the center for you, and then if you draw more lines, then you have more centers, right? Or midpoints. Then if you just try to connect these lines to each other, then you kind of have this circle in perspective that you want. And this circle gives us a very good input, and that's where the body starts and where the body ends, kind of. So basically here is the main part of the body that starts and ends. However, our body just becomes a bit wider here and then become narrow down there again. So by this, that just somehow shows our body only for this stage. And this one a bit more narrow. And what I can continue with is actually like some important details in the body. For example, here we have kind of a cockpit. Almost starts from here, goes a bit up. As you can see, I'm just trying to follow the same cubic trend, although the cockpit is not so cubic. Then it goes down like this. Same perspective lines. Goes down here. This is interesting to see. For example, this is one of the forms on the body. I'll come back to this again. And then this is the form that I see here that just goes up. So basically, what is important for us in this stage is maybe the forms or the contours of the body, or I don't know if that is the word contour, or like the strokes on the body, and they specify how does the body looks like. So it's good to just actually follow the same path and then have a circle or whatever shape is in perspective in a geometrical way. And here you can see that the rectangle that we have is a bit more narrowed down, although I was not so right on the lines, but I'm just trying to be quick. And then yeah, and what we can do here is to actually give the same amount of like volume to the wings. So because they basically have some sort of thickness, but the thickness here would be naturally less, and here would be kind of more, right? And then we try to have the yeah, the forms that it has on the body. It should not be that much rigid, let's say. Okay, what we can see here is this very interesting form where the wing actually meets the body of the airplane, or where it ends. So we can replicate the same form because this helps us a lot in creating other forms. And people who are in avionic industry, they know the reason for this form actually, but I don't want to explain it here. So that's basically how an airplane flies. What is important here is that this wings actually meets the bottom line, not the middle of the airplane. So if you remember, this line was our mid line and this line was our kind of end line or bottom line. And then it's better to just connect it to this. This gives us a very good preview of how they look like. And then we go for making the body a bit more smooth and try to shape the outer contour of the body. And this goes down there, it becomes a bit narrow down here. And then from here also the same thing. So basically, as you can see, the wing actually meets the middle of the body, but we still can see a thickness here. So basically this is the midpoint. This flap or wing or whatever just ends here, and then we have some extra kind of part of the body that you can see here. Yeah, so I specified these lines here. I just try to make the lines a bit more black, let's say. Then I put this one as how does the contour of these wings looks like. And this is almost, it's not the exact same shape, but we know that that's basically the overview of it. And then we have some kind of wheels here, and this wheel has some sort of angle with the body. It's a bit tilted. So I will go with the same cubic logic. Yeah, one wheel here and then some structural elements here. And then we have a back wheel, which is very small. You don't have to really spend a lot of time on it. Yeah, this might work. And then we have a thickness also for this back wings. I'm a bit unhappy that I kind of neglect them. The same form where it meets the body. Thickness again. Yeah, that's it. Now here is something very, very important when it comes to the kind of nose of the airplane. If you look at here, we have this cool form here, and if you want to draw that, you can just easily have, you have like a rectangle or a square here, just have a smaller square in the front one, like a bit distance from that square. Yeah, with the same method as we said, and then try to connect this to that one. This, in 90% of the situations, this works to have like okay kind of form that you want for here. And then we have probably some propellers here, but my airplane doesn't have propellers because they're broken because of the move out probably. And for that, I want to just quickly teach you. For example, usually these kind of airplanes, the propeller is a form like this, like Mercedes-Benz logo. So here is 120 degrees. And if you want to replicate this one, so you basically change it into a triangle easily. So for that, we can have a triangle in perspectives. I'm not so accurate on this, I know. But yeah, and then try to have these lines here, and then try to make it into kind of a propellers. Actually, I just found it's very hard to make the propellers without seeing it, because it's kind of a complex form. Maybe I'm quite bad in that. Yeah, hopefully it works. So I add some shadows here to just show that this form is a bit like it's curvy. And then here we know that it's a full circle because of mechanical reasons. It should be a full circle here. And then we have other contours on the body. So basically they are circle, but then they try to transform from the circle into other shapes. And these shapes on all their planes, it's actually quite easy to find out how does the shapes looks like, because the components of the body are quite like divided from each other. Yeah, here the forms becomes a bit more edgy, and here too narrow. So basically what we can do here is to just go through the details of this cockpit, because it's actually quite important. Like this is a glass, I don't know, it's a glass polycarbonate or plastic or whatever here, but yeah, that's also in real life, so it's important to show how does the inside looks like. So it's just enough to replicate this form that you have here with the same perspective almost. Yeah, that's it, you kind of have it. And then I will add another seat for the main cockpit, the pilot, sorry. So if I want to just develop the system, so we have some very important lines here. For airplanes are very important, but for drawing we put them in the end. So basically they are it's kind of flaps that just moves and makes the airplane tilt. Yeah, and then we have some other lines here, which they're basically the basic component or the like this flat components of an airplane. Yeah, kind of a thing. I'm not so sure. So basically what I can do now is to just try to go and create some shadows and give it a bit more, make it a bit more nicer. But before that, I just try to create all the shapes that I have in the body. For example, this is some sort of air intake here, I can see, and I can replicate the same contour. Yeah, that's it, and I want to go to shadowing part. Okay, to continue, I want to just add some shadows to this, but before that I need to explain you something very important. So basically when we're doing a design or industrial design kind of drawing, the time is actually very important for us, because in the shortest time we just want to convey the message to whoever want to see it, either as clients or as our teammate or whatever. So it's very important to be very quick with shadowing and not to spend a lot of time on the details in this stage. So with that laid up, I just want to say that the way that I put the shadows, I just use these very, as you can see, parallel lines, and with them you can just by pushing the pen a bit more or pushing the pen a bit less, you can create different grays or gradients, and then by different let's say distances between, you can even create different material. So it's a good way and a very quick way of doing it. So basically what I want to start with is to first specify the shadow that is we have it underneath the airplane, because it's very important to show that the airplane is actually, if it's not I can show it here, if it's not flying, so it's on the ground, as for me it is, then it's good to show some lines that shows that it's on the ground. Otherwise people may think it's on the it's just flying. So basically for that I can probably explain in another video, but it's just the easiest way is to just replicate the forms that you already have, but considering the shadow that's or the light. And then so for that what I can see some sort of shading on it. If I have my on this source of light, we can actually here, for example, maybe have some sort of shadows. This can be it's something. Just good to go with quite crazy with the shadows. This is a component that I added it recently actually. Yeah. And remember, this distance shows actually the distance between your object and the ground. So for this, with this very simple setup, I just want to start the shadowing actually from the cockpit. And the reason is that because here we have a glass part of, but it's good to just spend some time on the details and show that there's something down here. And this part is a bit tricky actually, because we should also show that this is not like open, it's a glass inside. So I just put some very random shadows here, and then in order to show that it's a glass, I just use some other lines which covers the lines on the back. Anyway, so it's like a rounded shape, so we add the shadow. When the line, when you have something like a straight line like this, it's just enough to do the shadow by just straight lines. You don't have to do them in this direction. You can just go to the same direction that you have there. And on the wheels, it's good to spend some time on the shadow because their color is also black color. And this form, as you can see, the shadow would be quite the other way around, because when the light is coming from here, then the shadow would be on the upper parts. And then here is very important that we already have these constructional lines for the body, as you can see here. So we can just follow them and then try to create a random shadow. And my recommendation is just go from the light shadow to the dark shadow. So these lines that I put here, for me, these are kind of like light shadow because they are very distant from each other. And then I add more lines, and these more lines kind of replicates the darker shadows. And then I add some perpendicular lines to the other lines, and they specify more how does the kind of their body shape and also the dark parts of the body looks like. And then I can do the same for other parts. For example, here, if the light source is here, then we can actually have this one. So we forgot the thickness for that. Actually, it's important to put it. And then we have, you can see that the shadow of this wing will be on this other part, and the shadow of the whole body of the airplane would be on this. So it's good to just have some details, just to show the form and everything. So on these parts, we don't have to have like a very detailed shadow. It's just enough to show it with some lines. But here on the thickness part, since it's another surface, it's good to make it a bit darker to say that there's a shadow there. And then here we can show that, since you see these are two different planes or two different surfaces, it's good to have two different kind of color quality. Here I can do the same. Yeah, this could work. And then for the shadow that you have on the ground, it's just, I think the best way is to just follow a line which is parallel to the lower part of your page. This can be one solution, or you can do any other solution that any other line that you think is more appealing for what you're doing. Yeah, for me, it's just, I'm just happy with this. And the importance of this part is that, for example, we have a back wheel here. You know, if you make this part a bit darker, for example, then you can see that the wing is becoming more and more exposed. And this is something that you should always consider, that whenever you want to make an object exposed, it's just good to make the environment a bit darker. And then usually when the shadow gets closer to the body of the object, or to the object or the body of the airplane, it becomes a bit darker. That's not really actually how you see in the reality, but for human eye, this is a bit more meaningful. So here there is less distance to the ground, and here we have more distance to the ground. So here we don't have to have very intense shadows. Yeah, that's it. We make these lines a bit more exposed because they are actually a part of the what we see on the airplane, on the old airplanes, because yeah, as we said, they were the manufacturing instructional lines, and then we have some lines which are like, these are probably some hatches, or yeah, there are a lot of lines on all the airplanes for some reason. Yeah, this is it for now, and I hope you enjoyed it, but just let me know if you have any specific question, because I'm not that much into teaching the drawing. I've been teaching it actually a couple of years ago, but I got some distance and I was just working in the industry instead of teaching it, so that's why I'm not really close to the students' mind, and I don't know what is their problems or what is the pains, but these are based on my personal experiences. So if you have any question or something, just let me know, or just put in the comments and I will try to answer you as soon as possible.